headed to LA. Chicago Bears, Los Angeles Rams. This is a special game in my opinion, because the quarterback narratives of both these teams are so spectacular to dive into. Let's start with Chicago. Obviously, Chicago's starting Andy Dalton in this game. Andy Dalton, the veteran, they brought him in this offseason. They told him he was QB1, and then they go up and trade for Justin Fields, the quarterback of Ohio State, the number 3 quarterback on PFF's draft board, a guy that graded well this preseason, has looked really good this preseason, but still not enough to be named the starter. Your opinion now of Matt Nagy's decision to start Andy Dalton, and I guess your opinion of this quarterback competition and what you ultimately think should happen.
Yeah, obviously you talk to people in Chicago, and probably the biggest thing they say is that what we see in practice is Andy with all the people that are going to be starting with him. Mm-hmm. And it's completely different. We haven't seen one snap in preseason where Andy Dalton has played with everybody that he's going to play with. So that's one. 2, you've got a guy, when you get to professional defenses, you know, when Aaron Donald is all of a sudden playing the edge on the left side, and you better be able to slide the protection that way and to be able to pick it up. He can get them in and out of a huddle. He can make checks with a single look at Allen Robinson. He's a professional quarterback at this point. And on the other side, so there's a great comfort level on all accounts.
Yeah.
On the other side, you got Justin Fields, who I don't even know if he called plays in the huddle when he was at Ohio State. They kind of look over in the cards, and you know how college football is now. Yeah. Who physically may be one of the great specimens we've ever seen play the position, running 4.4, some of the great escapes, the ability to throw the ball anywhere on the field, the energy that he brings to an offense when he's in there. And he is going to be the starting quarterback of the Chicago Bears. The question is, and it would be the only question I would have if I ran the Bears organization, is what is best for Justin Fields this year? I don't even personally care. Well, I do care, but if we didn't make the playoffs, but we did everything to set up Justin Fields to be successful for the next 15 years, anything I do this year will have been worth it.
Yeah.
If I throw Justin Fields out there and he doesn't know what he's seeing when it comes to the rush, when it comes to checking protections, when it comes to looking down the field and understanding coverage, if I throw him out here and every time he sits back in the pocket, he looks around, he doesn't know what he's doing, and he trains himself to take off and run, right? Which is a very viable option for somebody who runs 4.4 and weighs 230 pounds.
Yeah.
That's a very viable option. But that's what he gets out of the 2021 season. In my opinion, that would have been a failed season. That teaching him to play the quarterback position at the NFL level and understanding that he has not seen NFL defenses during the course of preseason. He has no idea what they look like. Now he's going to watch Andy Dalton. He's going to watch the game film afterwards. He's going to talk to Andy Dalton. He's going to talk to Matt Nagy. He's going to talk to everybody involved and begin to understand. Begin to understand. Now, when does that understanding really kick in? It might be week 2. I don't know. It might be week 10. It might not be to year 3. I don't have any idea, but I know I have something in Chicago that I haven't had in my lifetime almost. I mean, that's really what we're talking about here. Yeah. We have a quarterback who might be it. He might be it. He might be able to play with Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady, and all I care, he is ready to play quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, I think that is exactly right. I think when I talk about the Justin Fields situation, everyone in Chicago, for the right reasons, wants to see Justin Fields play. He is a phenom. He runs a 4.4. He's 230 pounds. He's got this crazy arm talent. But the number one reason you don't play a rookie quarterback in his rookie season is if it's going to develop bad habits. And that's something you spoke to. You're going to develop bad habits playing behind that offensive line, which according to PFF is a bottom 3 offensive line in the NFL, especially with Tevin Jenkins, the rookie, now having back surgery. You're going to develop bad habits behind that offensive line and with that offense that you don't want to carry into year 2. And you're right. The number one question the Chicago Bears franchise needs to ask is, what's the best for Justin Fields? If that's losing every game this year, but letting him learn behind Andy Dalton, then you do it, because that's what's going to put this franchise in a position to succeed. Let's shift gears now to the other side of the ball. The other team in this game with Matthew Stafford. They add a quarterback. They trade multiple first-round picks to go after and get an upgrade. I'll call it an upgrade over Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford. The biggest question is, and everyone has a different answer to this, how big of an upgrade is Matthew Stafford over Jared Goff? And is it enough to bring this Rams team within playoff Super Bowl contention with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Green Bay Packers?
Yeah, it's the right question. And I think when I heard about the deal, I thought it was going to be an upgrade. I don't know how much of an upgrade I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I'm going to admit that we haven't called a lot of Lions games on Sunday Night Football. So I haven't really studied them. Like, I watch highlights of the other games, but usually by Monday morning, I'm already working on our next game. So if we don't do your game, I don't know all that much about it. So I went back on and I put on every Matthew Stafford pass for the whole year. I'm just going to grind this thing. I'm going to see if what they did was smart. And I got to admit, I was stunned at what he was doing. Now, granted, he had some good receivers in there, but to see a guy ad lib a 45-yard seam post inside the safety and throw this rocket down there and do it time after time, to see a guy manipulate the middle of the field for those digs and crossing routes, to move a safety with his eyes and then rip one right by his fingertips for big completions and not get his receiver killed in the process, is a really big deal in the National Football League. I don't know that we've really seen Matthew Stafford make plays on the edge like he's going to have to do in this offense. I mean, the bootleg's going to be a big part. The play action is going to be a big part of this thing. But I think athletically, he is more than capable of doing this. For the first time, we are going to see this Rams offense and Sean McVay and what it can be with a veteran quarterback that they're not trying to give some last minute bit of advice to at the 15-second clock as it ticks down. A guy who's able to ad lib, create plays, move inside the pocket and still make throws and still keep his eyes down the field. Matthew Stafford did way more in Detroit than I ever gave him credit for. And I think there's at least a chance now that we're going to see a new version of him, a new enthusiasm. And one of the keys to it might well be Deshaun Jackson. They have kept Deshaun Jackson under wraps. And it's not that I'm talked to coaches and I've got some secret thing. I can read newspaper accounts and go, they got something. They know they've got. So they're not even practicing him that much. But when you add a guy with that element of speed to be able to take the top off and to help Cooper Kupp and to help Robert Woods get open and those guys and inside of this offense, that to me is a really big deal. But we likely in this game will have the first starting combination of 39-year-olds at left tackle in the history of the NFL, right? You got Jason Peters, you got Andrew Whitworth. So there's just so many interesting things for me to watch in this game. And then, of course, you've got Khalil Mack trying to wreck the entire thing on the other side. So great matchup, really interesting game. And I honestly can't wait to see what Stafford's going to do inside this offense.
Yeah, I do think with Stafford, one of my favorite stats that I saw is he's one of the highest graded quarterbacks according to PFF working after his first read, whereas Jared Goff was one of the lowest graded quarterbacks. And that's where this offense is going to look different. Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff working in this system will do a lot of the things the same, but it's when you have to work outside of structure. It's when you have to extend the play and you have to be different. is where Stafford separates himself from Jared Goff. And it's exactly why Sean McVay and this Los Angeles Rams team traded multiple first-round picks to go grab Matthew Stafford because they were fine with Jared Goff inside of structure. They needed something outside of structure. And I think that's what Stafford brings to the table. One more question on this game, and then we'll jump to your Super Bowl prediction in 2021. Brandon Staley is no longer coaching for the Los Angeles Rams. One of the best coordinators of last season is now coaching for the Los Angeles Chargers right there, still in LA. Are you expecting any drop-off, even though this team is stacked on defense? Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, there is a ton of talent on the defense side of the ball. Leonard Floyd, do you expect a drop-off losing Brandon Staley on the sidelines, or do you think this system will stay intact?
I don't know. Raheem Morris is certainly a veteran coach. He's been around. We'll see what they do. Raheem, even when he comes into places, every defensive coordinator is going to put his own touch on it, right? I mean, they just are. I think the loss of John Johnson 100%. At the safety position, I watched the game last year when they were playing against the Bears. Johnson made 3 plays in that game that could have been 50-yard plays or touchdowns against any other safety. A phenomenal talent. He was a signal caller on the defense. How many safeties have you ever heard as the signal caller? Usually it's like the Mike linebacker, right? So I think there's some differences. I think it's impossible to compare what one defense is to another year. But and the other thing probably is it's a superstar-driven defense. Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey are the guys that are the rock stars, and they go outside Matthew Stafford on the other side. So you lose one of those two guys to injury, and all of a sudden your salary cap is really painful because they got rid of a lot of depth on this defensive line. And so can they hold up without Aaron Donald being the cornerstone? He's been the best player in football. He's been J.J. Watt. Since I've been at PFF, you had the J.J. Watt era where he was off the charts. We don't even know how to grade him. If he's 99, everybody else is 79, And then you got the same thing with Aaron Donald. It's like, how do you say he's not the best player in football? Well, he doesn't play quarterback. But other than that, he's the best player in football. Yep. So, I think it's a really interesting thing to see how they'll do without him. But I do believe that there's still enough on this defense, and Stafford gives them enough of an interesting upside on that side to where the team could actually be better.